Godzilla vs. Kong. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it great? Or was it mediocre? We will be talking about that right after this.
Godzilla, huh? Okay, let me see what you mean.
How's it going, guys? Today is April 1st, and it is the day after Godzilla vs. Kong premiered in the United States. It came out on HBO Max and in cinemas. So I was lucky enough to be able to see it last night in a IMAX theater. It is very much worth seeing it in a theater versus seeing it at home. It's a nice, convenient thing to have, but I will shout it out to the heavens to go see this in a movie theater. But should you go see it, I'm gonna be doing a non-spoiler portion and then a spoiler portion after. For the first half, it'll be non-spoiler, and then if you wanna click off, I will be talking about spoilers. If you would wanna stick around for both, if you already saw the movie, awesome. And so I'm just giving my day after thoughts, after sitting on it for a night, seeing it with some friends, seeing it in a full packed theater. What was my experience? What was my thoughts on the film? First off, I want to say I have been looking forward to this film for quite some time. Since Godzilla 2014 came out and was announced, I was very much invested already in the MonsterVerse and what was happening with the MonsterVerse. And then when Kong got announced and eventually Godzilla vs. Kong was also announced, it just rose the hype even more. But the question is, did it live up to the hype? The film has excellent cinematography. The locations, the camera shots, the effects they used, it is very, very top-notch. But in a full theater surround sound with the huge screen, it is very much worth seeing it in that sort of environment. The way it looked, it is perfect. It looked great. So kind of the basics, not spoiling anything. This is the non-spoiler. So I'll just go through a few tick marks that I will be talking about, kind of just generalizing things. So first, let's talk about the thing everyone wants to hear. Godzilla and Kong. Did it live up to the name? And I will say I am completely trying to remove the fanboy aspect of when I look at these films, because King of the Monsters, when that came out, I was over the moon about it. But then as time went on, I don't really like that one now. So trying to take away that aspect, I would say from a first viewing and a first sort of thought, this is the best of the MonsterVerse. I need to rewatch it again, and I will probably be back at the theater seeing it a few more times on the big screen. First impression, it is the best of the MonsterVerse of the four films: 2014, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and Godzilla vs. Kong. This one had me on the edge of my seat the whole time. I really wasn't bored at all. There were parts in 2014 where I got very bored because there's too much human story, and humans are needed in these type of films. If you asked me when I was 9, I would say no, just monsters. But you need human characters to move along the story and the plot and to kind of get things rolling. Because if it was just Godzilla and Kong, without humans, obviously they would never meet. So you need that human element. And in this film, the humans, I will say, are very much an upgrade from King of the Monsters. I think King of the Monsters was the lowest you could get with the human characters, minus a few characters like Kyle Chandler's character and Serizawa, and some of the few characters like that I really enjoyed. But a lot of them I didn't like. The military aspect, the oh my Godzilla guy, the gonorrhea guy, like they were all kind of trash. We can just kind of take them and plop them in a trash bin. But in this film, all the 90% of the human characters I did enjoy. Millie Bobby Brown, I think, stepped up this movie for me. In the last film, she wasn't my favorite. And in this film, she definitely had more of her own chance to breathe where she's not around the other characters. And in this one, she's only around 2 or 3 other characters, so it's not anything too bad with her. The newer characters in this film that were shown in the trailers, the little girl, Alex Skarsgård, and some of the other few, I actually really enjoyed. It didn't feel like it was too goofy, even though some of the charm of the Godzilla films are its goofiness back in the Showa era. But I think King of the Monsters was a little too goofy for me with the characters, and it just didn't work. This one, it fit a lot better. There was one comedic character, which was nice. He actually had me laughing a good amount of the time when he was on screen. And it wasn't like, personally, it wasn't annoying to me, the character, because he wasn't throwing out gonorrhea and oh my Godzilla. Like, it was more natural, in my opinion. It was more of like a natural comedic character who, if someone was that high strung, would kind of act like that, and I believed it more than the other past film characters. So the human characters, I give some thumbs up. Definitely an improvement. Did not have too much issues with them. So let's talk about the monster cast. Still non-spoilers. Godzilla and Kong, obviously the stars of the show. They definitely had a very strong presence on screen, and when they were on screen, you just had to watch, and your full attention had to be on them because they are obviously the marquee characters here. I will say, in this film, it seems more like a Kong story than a Godzilla story. So Godzilla 2014 and Godzilla King of the Monsters was obviously more of a Godzilla story. But Kong Skull Island and Godzilla vs. Kong is more focusing on the Kong aspect, and I think that was the right decision because Godzilla isn't as relatable. You know, he's had his 2 other films already, so I think having Kong as the more central kaiju here versus Godzilla was the better choice. And obviously Kong could connect with the audience more and could connect with the characters in the film more than Godzilla, even though Godzilla has shown that in some of the past films in the Monsterverse. This way that they did it, it was the smart decision to have Kong kind of be the one we follow more so than Godzilla. The action was fantastic. I really could not ask for more with the action. Seriously, it had me on the edge of my seat. I was in the theater with my mask on the whole time, and the entire time they were fighting in the film, my mouth was open and my eyes were just lit up. It was pretty fantastic seeing these characters come together again after almost 50 years since Godzilla vs. Kong in '62. So that was, and right now in this time and age, it is the best they could have looked on screen together with the CG where it is now and how far we've come since the 90s with special effects with green screen usage. Looked absolutely amazing. There's definitely some flaws that this movie did have, and I will save that for the spoiler portion coming up very soon. There were some flaws for sure that I would have changed. In my opinion, I would choose to change around some aspects of the plot and what was shown and what was not shown. The villains were okay. They weren't too special. The antagonists won't, go into that just yet. But the antagonists were, they were meh. I think Kong Skull Island did the antagonists a lot better in that film, focusing on Packard and kind of his revenge against Kong. I think that was the best antagonist of the Monsterverse so far and how that was handled. King of the Monsters with Jonah and the stupid mother, I did not like that, and that's a big issue I have with King of the Monsters. But this one is definitely a little better, and it does pay off. So the villains were okay, definitely a step above King of the Monsters, but a step below Kong Skull Island in my opinion. The music was a downgrade from King of the Monsters. It didn't have that same oomph that you would hear when you heard the opening credits, the closing credits, the remix of the Blue Oyster Cult Godzilla song from the lead singer of System of a Down. That was awesome. Beer McCreary as the composer. And King of the Monsters was fantastic. But the new composer for this one, it kind of sounded like he was trying to rip off Akira Ifukube. I wasn't a fan of the Godzilla and the Kong themes. I really wish they got Beer McCreary to do this one again, but unfortunately they didn't. So the music for the themes at least was a step down. They did use a lot of great actual songs in the film, like an Elvis song, and they used some other good music. But for the themes itself, the themes weren't that great. I will say that the themes weren't that good. I wish we did hear the actual Godzilla theme, but we did not. And I mean, you can only ask for so much. We did get it in King of the Monsters, so it's better than nothing for sure. I would go ahead and say I'm trying to keep the non-spoilers shorter, just to kind of get my immediate thoughts out there. In my opinion, I would go see it. I think it lived up to the hype that the film had for a couple months since the marketing kicked up. Definitely a film, it feels like a summer blockbuster, and so far the film's doing really well in overseas markets, and the US is supposed to also have a very positive outcome for this film. And I want it to succeed because we want more Monsterverse. I want more Monsterverse. We have a Kong Skull Island anime coming on Netflix. We have some graphic novels. So the Monsterverse is continuing, just it's not clear if it will continue on the big screen. They said this was the last film for the Monsterverse between these two. Like everything, if it makes enough money, they will continue, and hopefully they do continue it. Out of 10, I would rate this a solid 8.5. It was excellent. I very much enjoyed it. Definitely the best of the Monsterverse films. Kong Skull Island, I would probably give it an 8. And then the other two, I would say 2014 is a 7, and then King of the Monsters is more like a 5. But this film was awesome. It was, if you haven't seen it yet, please go see it as soon as you can, either on HBO or in the theater. Very much worth your time, very much worth your money. And if you get HBO, you can watch it over and over for the full month, so that's even better. So the non-spoiler aspect of the video is over. I will be talking about spoilers now, so if you would like to continue watching, I will be talking about more in depth, but if not, thank you very much, and I appreciate the support. If you could leave a like, that would greatly help out this channel. So thank you very much, and we will get to spoilers in just a minute. Okay, so welcome back. We are now in the spoiler section. I want to say how well I thought they did the Godzilla vs. Kong fight, and how they actually gave a true winner, which is most important in this film. If you saw the film, you saw at the end, Kong drops the axe and Godzilla leaves. And so that's showing that Kong is like, I don't want to fight anymore, because Godzilla would have kept going if Kong kept going. But Kong kind of waved the white flag there at the end, and Godzilla sort of gave him that respect and left. Since there was no more threat. And even before that, Godzilla did bring down Kong, almost kill him. His heart was almost stopped beating at one point. So it was a clear answer who won that fight, and that was Godzilla. Am I surprised by that outcome? No, I am not. I think everyone probably would have said Godzilla would have won no matter what. Kong put up one hell of a fight, especially in Godzilla's territory in the water. Kong was getting stomped a little bit, but he got a couple good hits in there in the first fight. Godzilla took round 1 in Hong Kong. Kong, I thought, whooped Godzilla's ass. That was crazy. The Monsterverse Kong is more human-like than ape-like, I would say, versus some of the other Kongs in the past. Maybe besides the 70s Kong, but Peter Jackson, the original, those are very much more ape-like. Didn't really see Kong use his environment too much, like climbing trees, climbing mountains. He kind of did that in Kong Skull Island, but nothing too crazy. And in this one, during the Hong Kong scene, where he was jumping from building to building to building, dodging Godzilla's heat ray, I thought that was awesome, and we could finally see Kong kind of be the Kong of old and use buildings and climb buildings and things like that. I thought that was awesome. So Kong took round 2. At the end, Mechagodzilla is activated. Kong is down for the count. They restart Kong's heart. Godzilla ends up fighting Mechagodzilla, and Godzilla starts getting his ass kicked. He is about to be killed by Mechagodzilla, and Kong comes in at the end and saves Godzilla, saves the day. And I thought that the way they did that was also very smart. If you gave too much to Godzilla, like he beat Kong, and then he also beat Mechagodzilla with Kong's help, I think that would have been too much on Godzilla's side. But the fact that Mechagodzilla was stronger than Godzilla, and Kong did beat him down with the axe after he did get some assistance from Millie Bobby Brown's character, the other character she was with. Kong was able to execute Mechagodzilla, and I thought that was amazing. As soon as Kong chopped off Mechagodzilla's head with the axe, the theater erupted. That was the loudest the theater got when I watched it, and I thought that was really awesome how they gave Kong kind of that kill instead of Godzilla. So that was really awesome. I really enjoyed that. Mechagodzilla wasn't in the film for too long. And going back to the flaws I talked about in my non-spoiler section, the villains. I need to watch it again because I am not too sure about one of the antagonists. One of his last names, I think, was Serizawa. And I'm not sure if he was related to the Serizawa in 2014 in King of the Monsters. I'm assuming they probably are related, but I'm not sure in what aspect. If that was his son, if, you know, what it was. So I need to look into that. And the villains, I think, only had like a few scenes at the beginning, and then towards the end, they had their scenes, but they didn't do too much, minus kind of set things up. The main villain sent his daughter out with Team Kong to go into the Hollow Earth, and she gathered some samples and tried to get out of there, but obviously she didn't. But she was able to send the samples over to the Apex company, and they downloaded the samples and kind of used it in Mechagodzilla. And he happened to, sort of like Kiryu in the Millennium films, he sort of went berserk, and he got a mind of his own, and he killed our antagonists. Serizawa got electrocuted in the chair when he was linked up to Mechagodzilla, and the other antagonist met his fate when Mechagodzilla smashed the window and killed him. And so that was really it from them, and it didn't really go too much out into it. They kind of just set up Mechagodzilla, and then they were done. So they didn't really have that much of a lasting impact on the film themselves, but they did bring in Mechagodzilla, and I thought he was a cool addition. Was he needed? I don't know. I don't really know if he was needed. He kind of felt shoehorned in at the end a little bit. He must have came in the last 20-30 minutes, and so he wasn't on screen for very long, but they did need some sort of plot device to separate these two and to get them to at least team up for a scene. And that's what happens. And if the film didn't have Mechagodzilla and it was just these two, then it would have been a lot harder to try to, you know, have a clear-cut winner and not just kind of cheap out like the 62 version back when they both fell into the water and they just walked off and no one really knew who won. So this one, they both survived, but Godzilla got the W, but Kong was able to live, and now he is roaming in the Hollow Earth, and that's his territory. He is the king of the Hollow Earth. Godzilla is still in our territory, and I guess he is the king of our world, and Kong is now the king of the Hollow Earth. So the way they were able to separate those two is perfect. and it does leave potential for further stories down the line. Like I talked about in the non-spoiler, not sure if we'll get those, but it is definitely possible we do get those at some point. Let's talk about the other kaiju, the Warbat. So Warbat was only one scene, and shown in the trailers with Kong swinging one around, hitting one with the other. They were in it for maybe 3 minutes, not too long, 3-4 minutes. He was very, very menacing in the film, but he was not used too long because Kong immediately killed one, and then the other one, he did get assisted, but he was able to kill the other one. They then didn't show up again after that. So it was just those two Warbats. They were cool. They didn't really have much else to do. The real aspect is that they were mostly just for the toy line, I would say. One of my other flaws that goes along with the other kaiju were there was no Rodan, there was no Behemoth, there was no Muto, there was no other kaiju. And I understand that it is a Godzilla and Kong. They are the focus. And if you bring in so many other kaiju, that's going to kind of clutter and make everything more difficult. There is a little screen that's showing all the past Titans. And for each of them, it says defeated, 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 defeated. It gets the Rodan, it says defeated. I think I saw Behemoth said defeated. And so they were all on the side of Godzilla. So it looked like Godzilla defeated all of them. And he was trying to be the alpha on Earth because there's too many Titans. So I guess that's why he is one of the last remaining Titans. And Kong, it showed a couple on his side, but it was like the Skullcrawler and some of those. But I didn't see Kong defeat anyone on his side. It was more on Godzilla's side. But it was still a little disappointing. We didn't even get a cameo from Rodan or Behemoth. I know Behemoth is kind of like a fan favorite with the MonsterVerse, the giant woolly mammoth. And kind of disappointing he didn't show up, or they didn't even show like a little flashback, maybe even like a 2-minute scene of Godzilla maybe fighting, Behemoth or the other kaiju, just kind of explaining how he was asserting his dominance over the other Titans and all that good stuff. But that was a flaw with me. I wish they kind of talked about more of the past Titans. But I'm sure they'll have a prequel to Godzilla vs. Kong graphic novel, which I'm sure they're already coming out with, which I know they're already coming out with. And maybe in that, they'll have Godzilla fight Behemoth and Rodan and all that stuff. But I wish they did show it in the film. We did see another Skullcrawler. So a Skullcrawler versus Mechagodzilla was pretty cool, even though that fight was 30 seconds. But seeing a Skullcrawler in the film was awesome. And like I said, the Warbat vs. Kong was really cool too. So we did get at least, we got 5 Titans minus, some of the other little creatures in the Hollow Earth that they showed. Like they had some crabs, they had like some weird things down there. Some of the birds that were in Kong Skull Islands were also shown that Packard happens to shoot. And all the birds fly away, and then later on they kill one of the scientists. So those birds were down there. So the Titan aspect was a little disappointing, not having Rodan, not having some of the other Titans, but made up for it with these two. The Hollow Earth was a cool aspect to finally see on screen because we kept hearing about the Hollow Earth and Kong Skull Islands where the Skullcrawlers come up from, and actually seeing it happen and actually getting to visit it with Kong was very cool. We saw the old war between the Kongs and the Godzillas, and that's where Kong got the battle axe. And I thought he would have got the battle axe ripping off one of Godzilla's spines. At one point in the film, I thought he was going to rip it off and like save it, but I guess he never did. So it does have remnants of the past wars that they mentioned of the Godzilla and Kong's ancient rivalry. Godzilla has a lot of ancient rivalries with a lot of kaiju for sure, with the Mutos, Ghidorah, the Kongs. So it was that was a very cool aspect. I like the Hollow Earth for sure. So I do have a Team Godzilla shirt on, but I think for the film, the more I watched it, I was more Team Kong. For my opinion, Kong was just the superstar of this film. He led it. I love the screen time he had, because in King of the Monsters, I wish they showed him, but they didn't. And we've kind of got to be with Godzilla for a while to be fleshed out with Godzilla. Kong, we only had Kong Skull Island, and that's when he was more of a teenager. So now all fully grown, it was more fun to be with Kong than be with Godzilla. And every time something bad happened to Kong, my heart kind of stopped. I was like, oh man, like I hope that's not it for the big monkey. I'm more so a Godzilla fan, but watching the film, I did want my boy King Kong to win, and I was on Team Kong for sure. Godzilla is more of an asshole in this movie. He's more of the villain. Kong takes the hero side. Godzilla takes the villain side. He tries to destroy the Apex foundation where Mechagodzilla is. They kind of turn that and show that, you know, Godzilla's a bad guy now. One thing I had to say that I thought was funny, though, was they put Kong in the ship and they try to take him by cargo ship, and that obviously doesn't end well, because that's when Godzilla comes, and the stuff in the trailer was that scene. If they only flew Kong before that, they would have saved all those ships, all those lives. They just thought about sedating Kong and flying him instead of that whole cargo ship thing. That would have been much, much better. We wouldn't have got the fight, but that would have helped the Kong team out for sure. I thought that was a funny aspect. They had a good amount of callbacks to the 62 version, and one of them simply was I think most people wanted to see it, was the part where Kong takes the axe and he rams this side down Godzilla's throat for a minute, and that's a callback to the original when Kong gets a tree and shoves it down Godzilla's throat. And that was a cool thing I noticed. The theater did get pretty happy when that happened. I think everyone kind of recognized what was going on at that part. And then Kong on the cargo ship, same thing in 62. Kong gets shipped out. And then same with the aircrafts carrying him, another callback to 62. The film was amazing. Like, I would change very few. Like I said, the Titans, I would have changed. Show Rodan, show Behemoth, kind of at least like a minute or two cameo. What happens? That's what I would change. I would change the themes from the composer, because I don't think they were very good compared to the last film. It was a step down, and that was something I wish were better. And I would say the antagonists were pretty weak too. But Godzilla's obviously seen as the villain, but I think the other antagonists, Serizawa and the other big bad, I think they maybe had 10 minutes of screen time. Like, it wasn't too much total. So that is another thing I would change. I need to watch the film a few more times to get a better full opinion. But initial thoughts, initial day after the release, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. I love this film upon first viewing. It lived up to the hype. It lived up to everything us Godzilla fans have wanted in a rematch between the two kings. And I think that they did it as perfect as they could. Go see it. See it in the theater if you can. If you cannot because of COVID or any other reason, get HBO and watch it. You get it for a whole month, and then they will take it down. And sometime this summer, I actually just saw it today, which is, I guess, breaking news, that the Steelbook for Godzilla vs. Kong has been announced for Best Buy, and that will be out sometime in June or July. So we will be getting the film this summer on home video, which is fantastic. And I'm sure at some point it will be back on HBO Max. In my opinion, I would say it's a good film and the best of the Monsterverse, but go watch it for yourself and form your own opinion and kind of see where it ranks. I say this is the top, then I say Kong Skull Island is the second best, 2014 is the third best, and the worst one of the Monsterverse, in my opinion, was King of the Monsters. So this one lived up to the hype, and it lived up to everything I wanted to see for sure. So with that being said, I would like to say thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for watching my past few videos. I very much appreciate it. Starting a few weeks ago, every weekend I will be uploading a new video. A new collection video for my channel will be coming out soon. I have not done one of those, I think, in 3 or 4 years. So it's grew a substantial amount. So I will be releasing one of those and a few more ideas coming. So thank you very much for watching. Go see Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters now. I appreciate you watching this video. Give it a thumbs up. And until next time, Rise96, signing off.